Welcome to District Command Central, your go-to source for the latest news and updates on the Washington Commanders. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a play. If you've been following the Washington Commanders this season, you already know it's been nothing short of a nightmare. What started with cautious optimism and a new front office direction under Adam Peters has turned into a slow-motion collapse that's hard to watch and even harder to explain. The Commanders' record sits at a discouraging 3-5 after another gut punch of a loss to the Kansas City Chiefs, and it's starting to feel like this team is playing for pride rather than the playoffs. Playoffs? Please. Those dreams evaporated weeks ago. Right now, the talk in Washington isn't about a postseason run. It's about survival, identity, and a serious reality check. Something deep inside this roster is broken, and the cracks are spreading fast. Every season exposes something, right? Sometimes it's the lack of chemistry, sometimes it's the coaching. But this year, it's something much more fundamental. It's the age of this team. The Commanders look old. They look slow. They look like they're chasing ghosts on the field, and no matter how much experience they bring, the league has become faster, leaner, and more dynamic. It's like Washington's playing football from a decade ago while everyone else has hit fast forward. When Adam Peters came in, he inherited a roster that was frankly a mess. You could almost hear him saying, "I just need to plug some holes, get some veterans in, and stabilize the ship." And, to be fair, it wasn't a bad idea for a team in transition. He didn't want to burn through the salary cap in his first year. He went with experienced players who could lead, mentor, and produce right away. But now, as the season unravels, that plan looks more like a short-term bandage than a long-term fix. Bobby Wagner, the defensive general who was once the heartbeat of this unit, suddenly looks like a shadow of himself. He's still a leader in the locker room, but the tape doesn't lie. He's struggling in coverage, getting caught flat-footed, and being targeted by faster, younger offenses. Zach Ertz, same story. Once a reliable red zone threat, now a safety blanket that doesn't stretch the field. He ranks 32nd in the league in yards after the catch, only 76 yards total, and that says it all. These are respected names, future Hall of Fame conversations, but right now, they're anchors dragging down a team that desperately needs speed, explosiveness, and youth. Washington has 22 players over the age of 30, and in today's NFL, that's not just experience. That's an expiration date. You can't compete with the Eagles and Cowboys if your roster looks like a retirement home compared to theirs. And this isn't even about blaming Peters or head coach Dan Quinn entirely. When Peters took over, he had a choice: tear it down completely or try to stay competitive while rebuilding. He chose the middle ground: add veterans like Von Miller, lean on experience, and let Jaden Daniels lead the next generation. But you can't play both sides forever. Eventually, you have to commit to the youth movement, and the Commanders are at that breaking point right now. Peters is going to have to face some hard truths this offseason. The roster needs a massive overhaul, and that starts with getting younger, everywhere. Offense, defense, special teams, doesn't matter. They need legs that can move and players who can grow with Daniels for the next 5 years. Otherwise, this whole thing falls apart before it even starts. Speaking of Daniels, the man, the myth, the almost savior, his absence has been glaring. Watching Washington without Jaden Daniels is like watching a movie where the lead actor never shows up. You keep waiting for the moment he walks on screen, and it just never happens. He's been sidelined for 3 games now with that stubborn knee and hamstring combo, and the offense has looked lifeless without him. But here's where things get interesting. The rumor mill says Daniels is finally expected to practice again this Wednesday, and that's where a spark of hope creeps back into this otherwise bleak picture. Head coach Dan Quinn, who's usually as stoic as a statue, admitted Daniels had a good rehab session. Translation? The kid might actually be back soon. And make no mistake, a healthy Jaden Daniels changes everything. When he's on the field, the Commanders' offense actually looks alive. In the 5 games he's played this season, he's thrown for over 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns, and just 1 interception. That kind of efficiency gives the coaching staff something to believe in. But it's not just the numbers. It's the energy, the confidence, the swagger. His mobility adds another layer to this offense. 200 rushing yards and a touchdown on the ground may not sound like much, but it keeps defenses guessing. Without him, they're predictable. With him, they're dangerous. He's that rare kind of player who makes everyone around him better. Receivers find more space, the offensive line blocks with more purpose, and even the play calling opens up. If Daniels can return against Seattle next week, it might not save the season, but it could at least reignite some belief inside that locker room. But let's not kid ourselves. One quarterback can't fix the fact that this roster is old and slow. Peters is going to have to get creative this offseason. He's got limited draft capital, only 6 picks, and none in the second or fourth round, so every decision matters. He can't just spend money for the sake of spending it. He has to build a core, a foundation of young players who can grow together. That means looking at who's actually part of the future and who's just taking up space. You might see some surprising trades before the offseason. Darren Payne's name has already come up in whispers, a solid defensive tackle who could probably fetch a third-round pick if Washington decides not to extend him beyond 2026. Moves like that aren't easy, but they're necessary. Peters can't keep one foot in the present and one in the future. He has to pick a lane and commit. Free agency this time around has to be different too. No more bargain bin veterans. No more aging stars on one-year prove-it deals. They need to invest in youth, 25 and 26-year-old players entering their primes, not leaving them. And while we're at it, it's time to see what the younger guys already on this roster can do. Players like Ben Sinnott, Jordan McGee, and Kane Medrano need real game reps, not sideline observation time. You don't learn what you have by keeping your prospects in bubble wrap. This last stretch of the season has to become an evaluation period, not just a countdown to the offseason. If you're going to rebuild, rebuild with purpose. It's wild to think that just last year there was so much hype. Fans were talking about turning the corner, finally finding stability, and maybe even sneaking into the playoffs. And now, 8 games in, the narrative has completely flipped. Instead of talking about playoff positioning, we're talking about rebuilding strategies and trade deadlines. It's disappointing, sure, but maybe it's also necessary. Sometimes a season like this, a humbling, frustrating season, forces you to confront the truth faster. You can't hide flaws when you're losing by double digits. You can't pretend the roster's fine when it's getting outpaced every week. You can't talk about leadership when the so-called leaders are getting beat in coverage or struggling to separate. Everything is exposed. And in a weird way, that might be exactly what the Commanders needed. Because here's the thing. Washington has a fan base that's starving for authenticity. They don't want empty promises. They don't want another 5-year plan that falls apart after 2. They want to see a plan that actually makes sense, that feels modern, that builds around the young core and doesn't just recycle names from the past. Jaden Daniels can be that cornerstone. He's got the talent, the charisma, and the competitive fire. But the team around him has to match that energy. If Peters can pivot this offseason, if he can trade smart, draft smarter, and inject real youth and speed into this lineup, then maybe this year's pain will have a purpose. Maybe this nightmare season becomes the wake-up call that sets the stage for something real. Until then, though, buckle up. The next few weeks might get even bumpier. There's talk in the building that more changes are coming, that some veterans could see their snaps reduced, and that the front office is already shifting focus toward 2026. That's how bad it's gotten. Mid-season, and the future is already the main storyline. But if you listen closely, there's still a heartbeat. Daniels returning could bring back some fire. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough to remind everyone why they believed in this rebuild in the first place. The Commanders might be down right now, but the real story, the next story, might just be beginning. If you're enjoying the coverage, make sure to smash that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts on the Commanders' latest moves. We want to hear from you. There's a heavy cloud hanging over Washington tonight as the sports world wakes up to what feels like the end of an era. Terry McLaurin, one of the most electrifying and beloved wide receivers in recent memory, has reportedly decided to part ways with the Washington Commanders. Fans are still coming to terms with the news, and social media is buzzing with disbelief, heartbreak, and, for some, a creeping sense of inevitability. McLaurin has been a figure synonymous with grit, speed, and consistency, someone who didn't just play for the team, but carried its hopes on his shoulders, week after week. Now, whispers of his exit are growing louder, and while nothing has been fully finalized, the rumor mills are working overtime with sources hinting that McLaurin's departure isn't just possible, it's imminent. For those who have followed Washington football, McLaurin's name has been more than a highlight reel. It's been a symbol of resilience. Drafted in 2019, he came in quietly, under the radar, but quickly made a name for himself with jaw-dropping catches and an uncanny ability to make defenders look foolish. His route running, his speed, his sheer determination to fight for every yard. Those are the moments that fans etched into their memory. Yet now, here we are, on the brink of losing him to free agency, and the city is bracing for the inevitable void. Rumors suggest that McLaurin has been weighing his options for weeks, if not months, quietly exploring potential landing spots while maintaining his professional composure with the Commanders. The secrecy of these deliberations has fueled speculation, leaving fans desperate for answers, desperate for a glimpse of hope that maybe, just maybe, he might stay. Insiders are hinting at a few key reasons behind this rumored split. Money, of course, is always a part of the conversation. McLaurin has earned his place among the top receivers in the league, and his next contract could be a significant payday, something Washington might struggle to match given their cap situation and ongoing team-building challenges. But it's not just about the numbers. Sources suggest that McLaurin has been seeking a team with a more stable quarterback situation, one where he can truly maximize his talents and perhaps chase that elusive deep playoff run that has thus far slipped through his fingers. And while the Commanders have shown flashes of competitiveness, there's a sense that McLaurin may want a fresh start, somewhere his skills can be fully showcased without the constant question of team direction hanging over him. The reactions from fans have been nothing short of intense. Social media threads are overflowing with clips of McLaurin's most iconic plays, from acrobatic sideline catches to relentless yards-after-catch performances. The hashtags are trending, and every commentator seems to have an opinion. Some fans are holding out hope for a last-minute twist, a dramatic front office move that could convince him to stay. Others are already mourning, imagining what it will be like to watch a McLaurin-less Commanders team next season. The sentiment is overwhelmingly emotional because McLaurin isn't just a player. He's been a heartbeat for the team, the guy who made watching a losing season feel worth it at times. He has this rare ability to give fans glimpses of pure, unfiltered excitement, and the idea of him wearing another jersey is almost unthinkable for those who have cheered him on in Washington. Rumors also suggest that several teams are already circling, quietly engaging with McLaurin's representatives. While nothing is confirmed, sources hint at a few franchises that could make sense, based on quarterback fit, offensive philosophy, and market appeal. There's talk that teams with solid passing games and the need for a true number one receiver are in active conversations, ready to pounce the moment he hits free agency. Meanwhile, Washington's front office is reportedly scrambling, weighing whether to make one last push to keep him or to focus on securing value in a potential trade or future draft picks. The tension is palpable, a mix of hope and dread, because the decisions made in the next few weeks could reshape not only McLaurin's career trajectory, but the identity of the Commanders for years to come. It's impossible to overstate what McLaurin has meant to the city. Beyond the stats and highlights, he represents perseverance, grit, and a relentless pursuit of excellence. Every season, even when the team struggled, McLaurin delivered moments of magic that kept fans engaged, hopeful, and proud. Losing him would be more than a roster move. It would be a cultural shift, a turning point in how the team is perceived, and a challenge to rebuild around a different identity. And yet, the whispers in the sports world are persistent. They suggest that McLaurin has reached a crossroads in his career, one where personal growth, opportunity, and ambition might outweigh loyalty to a single franchise, no matter how deeply he's been loved. For some, this is the natural progression of an elite athlete's journey. For others, it's a gut punch, a reminder that in professional sports, change is constant and loyalty is often tested by circumstance. As the rumor mill churns, insiders hint at behind-the-scenes negotiations, quiet discussions between McLaurin's camp and league executives, and the subtle maneuvers of front offices trying to position themselves for what could be one of the most high-profile wide receiver signings in recent years. Each day, without a confirmation, only fuels speculation. Fans and pundits alike are dissecting every interview, every social media post, looking for a clue, a signal, a hint that might indicate whether McLaurin is leaning towards staying or moving on. It's a delicate dance of patience and strategy, and the suspense is almost unbearable for a city that has grown to idolize him. Ultimately, What's unfolding is more than just a sports story. It's a narrative about change, ambition, and the inevitable evolution of both players and franchises. Terry McLaurin's rumored departure from the Washington Commanders is a moment that will be remembered, dissected, and debated for years. Whether he leaves or stays, the impact he's had on the team, the fans, and the city is indelible. His legacy in Washington isn't defined solely by touchdowns or yardage. It's defined by heart, by effort, and by the unforgettable thrill of watching a player who gave everything every Sunday. And now, as the rumors continue to swirl and the countdown to free agency tightens, one thing is certain. The football world is watching, waiting, and bracing for a chapter that could reshape the landscape of the NFL. Terry McLaurin, for better or worse, has become the story of the moment, the spark of debate, and the symbol of change in Washington. And whether he suits up next season in burgundy and gold or elsewhere, the conversation about his next move will dominate headlines, social feeds, and sports bars alike. The era of McLaurin in Washington may be ending, or at least entering its most uncertain chapter yet, and the fans, with a mix of excitement and heartbreak, are ready to witness what comes next. Thanks for tuning into District Command Central. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for all the Commanders news you need. Until next time, keep the faith and hail to the Commanders.